Hello there, how nice it is to come back to a studio full of hardy perennials. And the plants are pretty nice too. Ali Moreno, boom, boom. Steve Nicol and Craig Burley is here. Julian Laurent is also amongst the hardy perennials. He is with us. We're going to be discussing the Champions League round of 16 draw, which was made earlier today.
Very early.
Yes, very early. In fact, before we'd even got up. The names are out of the hat. Dortmund and PSG, Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Spurs, Leipzig, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Manchester City amongst the highlights. Let's look at the draw as a whole first, gentlemen. And Don Hutchinson, our colleague, had a tweet earlier on. Best draw ever. It might just be the best last 16 draw, said Don. Can't wait for these.
Don that said that might just be the best West Ham team we've seen in a decade that are now fighting. So I can't resist it.
But overall thoughts on the draw, big picture, before we get into any of the individual ties.
I think very excellent.
Yeah.
You know, very intriguing, lots of intriguing ties. There is a couple of really big ones in there. Liverpool at Atletico Madrid. I think Barca have got, arguably, if there is a comfortable one, Napoli. Atalanta and Valencia will be kind of rubbing their hands because they've got teams that are beatable. So, you know, and Tottenham under Mourinho now against the informed team under Nagelsmann in Germany. So I think lots and lots of great ties.
The overall thought is it seems to be very even. There's no, no heavyweight against minnow. Everyone's got a chance in every tie. Ali, do you go along with that?
I suppose so, but I mean, when you look at the whole picture, and Barcelona, for example, they would be comfortable in thinking, you know what, this is a team that's struggling for confidence that we're going to play against, and they like to play some similar way that we like to play. However, they're not nearly as good as we are, so Barcelona should comfortably go through this. Now, the problem is with Barcelona is that they have the ghost of Champions League past, in which against teams that they should have beaten, in the case of Roma in particular, they were not able to do that. So have they learned anything from that? We shall see. But I do think that the best teams have lined themselves up in a way in which they should be able to advance. So PSG is better than Borussia Dortmund. They should advance. Liverpool is better than Atletico Madrid. And even as uncomfortable as Atletico Madrid it may have been in the past, this is not the same Atletico Madrid. So Liverpool should advance. The best team should advance. And really the only one for me that is a toss-up that is really worth talking about is Real Madrid, Manchester City. Because Atalanta, Valencia, as interesting as it is for them, it's not so much for us.
I think we'll all sit here and we'll all go with the favourites. Because there are kind of favourites. But let's be honest, a lot of these, regardless of which one wins, we're not going to be saying, oh, that's a huge shock or that's a huge shock.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree that
even.
I would agree that there'll be favourites, but some of these games you can't pick a winner.
Well, talking of odds, let's start with the heavyweight tie. Not much mistake about it. Real Madrid and Manchester City. Interesting, the odds here. The bookies have Real Madrid as 2-1. Outsiders, Manchester City, prohibitive favourites to progress through to the quarter-finals. Julian Laurent, is this the way you see it? Is this the way you see the balance of power in this tie?
It's a bit more 50-50 for me, I have to say. I don't think there's a clear favourite, whether that's City or Real Madrid. Real Madrid have a lot of experience of the Champions League, even without Cristiano Ronaldo. Manchester City, especially under Pep Guardiola, it's been a bit more difficult for them. But for me, this is the tie of the round. Pep Guardiola going back to Spain, and not just as the Man City manager, but also with everything that I represent with Catalonia and going back to Madrid as well. He's had obviously a long story of games with Barcelona and Bayern Munich in Madrid at the Bernabeu. He will go back there. It's a great chance for Zinedine Zidane as well to show that he's not just about man management, but he can also tactically outsmart someone like Pep Guardiola. I think it's a fantastic tie that we'll have coming up.
What are you expecting, Craig? Because by that stage, all of City's eggs could be in this Champions League basket, couldn't they?
If they're pretty much not already, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, whether the City fans like it or not, and they've been steadfast in saying, UEFA, we don't really care, but the owners and the manager and the players care. And it is the one thing, like PSG, that's managed to slip them by. So I expect the unexpected, because that's kind of what both teams have given us this year, particularly City. You know, losing the games that they've lost to the teams that they've lost again, that have put them behind the 8 ball in their chase of Liverpool. And they've spent billions of dollars, and ultimately, Guardiola's got over the line in this competition before. Bayern Munich took him to get over the line. He went there to get over, he couldn't do it. And so far he's been unable to do it at Manchester City, so a lot of pressure. One of the other things is, I know it's not as big a game, but the Lyon-Juventus tie, whereas they'll be in Turin, the punters over there will be like, wow, that's it. But, those kind of games, whilst I don't expect Juventus to lose, it's so one-sided, I bet you, in terms of the bookies, that it puts the pressure on Maurizio Sarri's team to get the job done.
We will certainly get to Juve a little later.
Well, I've done it already.
Covered. Okay, so, tick that box. Is more pressure on Manchester City, given what we just saw, those 6 years in a row with disappointing exits earlier?
I don't think there'll be any more pressure on them than they'll put on themselves regardless. Pep Guardiola just wants to win. And yes, it is important, but I mean, I agree with Craig that these two teams have thrown performances out this season that just have been unexpected. But the only thing we can go on is if they play to their best.
Yeah.
And for me, if they play to their best, Man City will share it, because every team is able to get at Real Madrid. And if Man City are at their best going forward, they'll score goals.
Yeah.
I slightly disagree with Stevie that there isn't more pressure on Manchester City, because last season they all said, well, look, if you had given us winning the league and winning other trophies and FA Cup and this and that and the other, and trade that for having been eliminated in Champions League, we would have taken it. Well, now they don't have the league to fall back on. That's gone.
Yeah.
That's walked out the door. So now...
Don't you think, though, Wally, that the fact that they're in the position they're in now in the Premier League, the fact that they're struggling so badly defensively, that's kind of almost taken a little bit of pressure off. I mean, this time last year, we're going, oh, City are flying. City are one of the best. Is there a better team on the planet?
Yeah.
So maybe in some ways it takes just a little bit of pressure away, don't you think?
I don't see it that way. I think the pressure is squarely on their shoulder, because this is the one competition that they're going after and that they can actually win. They can win the league. And so the other thing that I would say is that they've been saying all along, well, let's just wait till Laporte gets back. When Aymeric Laporte comes back, then we're going to be a complete team, and then we're not going to have injury issues, and we're going to be the best version of ourselves. Okay, well, he's going to be back. And here's Champions League, and here's the opportunity. And what do you get? Real Madrid. The one team that you didn't want to get.
Yeah. How about the holders? Liverpool facing Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. Liverpool 3-1 on Atletico Madrid. You can get more than 2-1 on them, upsetting the holders. What was your initial reaction?
Well, I don't want them.
You didn't want them? Was that one of the main teams you didn't want?
No.
Why not?
As soon as it comes out, I'm going, oh, we don't want them. But then having had some time to think about it...
That's never a good thing.
Yeah.
Is that why your head was wobbling?
Yeah. This team this year, well, not just this year, but it just seems obvious that they don't score goals. This team doesn't score goals. And Liverpool does score goals. Now, I know Atleti can be great defensively, but when you're up against the front three that Liverpool have, they're going to have to be at their best. So the fact that they're struggling to put the ball in the net, you have to be... Comfortable's not the word, but I'm not as worried about it as when the thing was pulled out of the hat.
I think it's a bit of a myth now. A little bit of a myth now that... And I know everybody thinks it, or most people think it, oh, God, nobody wants to play them.
Yeah.
But really, is that the case at the moment? I mean, was it 8 draws in La Liga? Quite a bit off the pace, evolving squad, struggling up front a little bit to find the right balance. Lots of changes in the back line with the experienced players gone. And just because you've got a bit, and I mean it in the nicest possible way, a bit of a madman on the touchline, prancing up and down, and like Diego Simeone does, doesn't mean you're tough to play against. That being said, I wouldn't rule out an upset here, but I don't think it's a case of 2 or 3 years ago where you're like, oh, geez, this is going to be the most horrible game. Because that's not how Atleti are at the moment.
Atletico Madrid, at this point, they are having a real difficult time in making it as ugly as they once did. So they're not controlling the games defensively the way that they did. And you just mentioned an evolving team, and there's an identity crisis right now with Atletico Madrid, that they're neither a team that defends really, really well, that is tight, that is physical, or a team that goes and scores goals. Because they see their best players, Joao Felix, and say, hold on a second, but he's not going to defend, he's not going to help out here. We want him to attack, and we want him to express himself in the attacking half. Well, that's not the personality of Atletico Madrid or Diego Simeone. So they're neither here nor there, and in being in between, you see all those results that we have seen. Draws, and not quite good enough to score goals, but not quite good enough to keep goals out. And so therefore, you look at Liverpool and the potential matchups that they're going to be on the field, and you have to like Liverpool.
Meanwhile, the draw threw up a previous Champions League final pairing, didn't it? Chelsea and Bayern Munich. Remember, Chelsea beat Bayern in Munich in 2012. Current manager Frank Lampard lifting the trophy at the Allianz Arena, but they are outsiders, rank outsiders, according to the odds makers. Bayern Munich 1-4 on. Jules, this is an interesting one because neither side in great form domestically at the moment. Of course, we don't know what it's going to be like in February, but how do you see this?
Yeah, very interesting tie. Again, we don't know if Hansi Flick will still be the manager for Bayern Munich come February when this game, or early March when this game is going to be played. It could well be someone else, and that might change also the dynamic of it. I think on paper you would say that Bayern Munich are favourite for the experience they have of this competition compared to quite a young, inexperienced in Frank Lampard as well, Chelsea side. But that's just on paper. We've seen before, like you said, in 2012, that Chelsea were also capable of upsetting Bayern as a club and the fans, and it certainly be great memories for Lampard to go back to the Allianz Arena. Not so much for Bayern Munich to welcome Chelsea again, but I think it's a very interesting time, and I will still put Bayern Munich as favourite.
Well, they rather enjoyed their last trip to London, didn't they, Bayern smashing 7 past Spurs. The Gab and Jules podcast has just dropped with the reaction to the draw, but Stuart Robson filling in for Jules. Borussia Dortmund and PSG being paired together in the Champions League round of 16. PSG, again, 4-1 on. Seeing those odds quite a lot to get through to the quarterfinal. Dortmund, you can get almost 3-1 on them. Julien Laurent, your reaction first as a PSG Easter. Were you happy with the draw? What's the reaction, do you think, in Paris?
I think it's a good draw. It could have been better, could have been worse. It's an interesting draw because Dortmund play the kind of football that PSG like playing against, and it will be a very open game. And I think you're going to see a lot of goals from both sides, a lot of chances created by both sides as well. I think PSG is rightly favourite. It's also Thomas Tuchel going back to Dortmund, where things didn't really ended that well for him, both with the fans and also with the board of directors at the club. So it'd be very interesting to see how that pans out. I think he would be quite motivated to prove everybody in Dortmund wrong for letting him go the way they did. And certainly in what happened with PSG before in this competition, especially the Manchester United scar and the Barcelona scar, or nightmare even, this is a very important tie psychologically for the Parisians, that they will have to show that even for what looks like a tricky game on paper, they can step up and they can be the boss and they can boss that game and they can go through to the quarterfinals to sort of ease all the tension that will build up between now and February, because people will ask questions. How is this team gonna do in the Champions League after everything that happened in the past? You know, the last 3 seasons they lost in the last 16, for example, and all of that. But I think on paper, PSG are happy by the draw.
Well, those scars Jules mentioned are still very far from healing when you look at what's happened to PSG in the last 7 years. I mean, look at that. 4 quarter-final exits and now 3 in a row in the round of 16. Manchester United, Real Madrid and Barcelona in the last 3 years. Does it feel, Ali, like this year is different for PSG, that this is their year?
It does, and specific to this matchup against Borussia Dortmund, if you have seen Borussia Dortmund play over the last 3 weeks or so, and because of injuries or because lacking options in terms of who plays in the back line, there's a specific matchup that I'm looking at, I'm thinking, this does not look good for Dortmund. Kylian Mbappe, full speed, against anybody who plays center back for Borussia Dortmund, including Julian Weigl. Yeah. So you just think of that and you say, well, there's no chance for Borussia Dortmund. You play an open game against PSG, you have no chance. And the other thing I would say is that PSG was impressive against Real Madrid in the group stage. And if they can carry some of that into the knockout stage, that's when you think to yourself, you know, maybe this PSG is for real. But if they're going to be for real, Neymar has to be a dramatic, impactful piece.
This is a Dortmund team who still carry a threat. They got past Inter in the group stage.
Yeah, they came back, I think, against Inter and one point. Inter just shot themselves in the foot. This is a team in Dortmund that can only play one way for me, and that's an open game. And when you put the two sides together, if Tuchel gets the balance right of the midfield and front line, PSG for me wins the game. And if I was PSG, I would be looking at the Man City Real Madrid tie, thinking, well, there's one team going to be dropping out of the big boys anyway, so let's get the job done here, and we're one step closer to possibly winning this competition. And they're good enough to win the competition. But it's whether they make the same mistakes again that they've made over the previous years.
We've been showing you a lot of odds. This is the tie the bookmakers could not come up with a favourite in. In fact, Spurs and RB Leipzig both 10 to 11. Extraordinary, really, to get through. First leg, February the 19th in North London. Stevie, what sort of test is this? RB Leipzig leading the Bundesliga at the moment?
Well, Werner and Schick up front have been great.
Yeah.
But I've got to think that by the time this tie comes round, Mourinho is going to have sorted out something defensively.
Will he still be happy,
Tottenham.
Mourinho, by then?
I think so. I think so, yeah. And I found it really difficult to separate these two, as the bookies did. But I think Mourinho will have sorted things out defensively at Spurs, and I think that gives them the edge.
Just quickly, who do you think advances out of these two? The bookies don't know, do you know?
Well, I don't know with certainty, Adrian, but I'm going to go with Leipzig.
Leipzig, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I honestly think Mourinho's happy with what he's got at Tottenham in some sense. But if you watch the game against Wolves, which they won, and you saw the high intensity that Wolves played against that Tottenham struggled with, then Leipzig are a better version of that with goal scorers up front. I think Leipzig are just slight favourites for me.
Really? Stevie?
Yep.
No.
No? You think Spurs?
I agree that the question marks are all at the back for Tottenham, but I think between now and February, Mourinho's going to sort that out.
Just briefly, Jules, who's in the quarter-final draw?
I will go for Spurs, although if Erling Haaland signs from Salzburg to RB Leipzig, it could be a different story.
Jules, I'll stay with you on Napoli and Barcelona. How do you see this?
For me, this one and the Lyon-Juventus one have to be the two where really you've got a huge favourite and a clear favourite. I can't see Napoli troubling this Barca side at all. I think Renato Gattuso coming after Carlo Ancelotti with no experience in the Champions League, for example, we struggle against this Barca side with Leo Messi. A lot can happen, of course, between now and February. There's 2 months, like you said, and there could be injuries. They could pick up a bit of form in Napoli, but for me, there's just hardly no chance for Napoli to cause an upset.
Real quickly, Lyon, Juventus. I know you covered it already, Craig, but is there any upset happening?
I mean, what are they, 8th in Ligue 1? They've got Memphis Depay's out now with the injury. As Jill said, it is unlikely. And that puts a little bit of pressure on Juve.
But they're getting through.
Because they're heavy favourites. Well, it would be a disaster if they didn't get through.
It's all about Ronaldo and Juve, isn't it?
I mean, it'd be catastrophic if they didn't beat Lyon.
Yeah. Look, Lyon is one of those teams that you'd be lining up to play against. And here you have it. There's no excuse for Sarri or anybody else for Juventus. This is one that you have to advance if you're serious about winning this competition. Simple as that.
Finally, any semblance of romance left in the competition is surely given to us by Atalanta.
Romance? I think they call it something else.
Well,
romance.
You know,
I know you like a good underdog.
Well,
story,
Atalanta. I mean, Valencia have been.
You don't.
No.
Well, they can build. Thank the lucky stars that have pulled each other because they've got a chance in. But in all fairness, I think Atalanta are the stronger of the two teams. Gasperini's got a decent side there, particularly going forward. And Valencia got through in a pretty poor group, so I'm going for Atalanta.
One of them will be in the quarterfinals.
I'm going to go with Valencia.
Yeah.
Listen,
you just hate
Valencia. Valencia has great chances.
Yeah.
What do Atalanta do?
I'll tell you what they do. They let goals in for fun. They lose them in bunches. So, you know, a good performance from Valencia puts them well ahead. So the second leg is in Valencia as well.
Seems as if you're looking forward to this game.
I'm telling you. I'm going with Valencia.
They're only 7th in La Liga at the moment, Ali.
But they just tied against Real Madrid.
Yes, they did.
The league leaders. Look, I think in Valencia what you have is a team that needed to go to Ajax and put together a performance. And we didn't think they were capable of doing that after we saw them blow the opportunities and the chances that they had against Chelsea at home. But they went to Ajax. They got the result. So from that perspective, I'll say Valencia. Atalanta, they're just happy to be here. But now they have a real opportunity to advance. How long that lasts, we don't know. But Valencia should be the favorites.
So more thoughts on the Atalanta romance and the prospects of an Atalanta-Napoli final, perhaps, on our Serie A Awesome podcast with Gab, Mina and Nikki. That drops tomorrow. Now, not just the Champions League names coming out of the hat, the Europa League too. Some of the highlights for you. Manchester United in Belgium. Ajax playing Getafe. Wolves will take on Espanyol. Then we move on to Arsenal in Greece against Olympiacos, Inter, Ludogorets. And Rangers Braga, just for Stevie. But all the focus on Arsenal. Let's talk about them. Well ahead of their trip to Olympiacos. What's going to happen in the next few days? Julien Laurent reporting on developments involving Mikel Arteta as potentially their next manager. What can you tell us, Jules?
Yeah, I think we can expect Mikel Arteta to be announced as the new Arsenal manager in the next few days. That is if the two clubs can agree a fee, because Arteta still has 18 months left on his current contract at Manchester City. Manchester City, who were a bit disappointed by the way Arsenal have led their business so far. Remember, there was those photos of Vinay Venkatesham, the Arsenal managing director, and his family, the chief negotiator at the club, leaving Mikel Arteta's house in Cheshire near Manchester on Sunday night, in the night between Sunday and Monday. They clearly went from London to Manchester after the game between Arsenal and Manchester City on Sunday afternoon. They had a long meeting there with Arteta, long talk. Now Arteta will come to London probably to meet Josh Kroenke, who owns the club, which will be the last step really towards him being announced as the club's new manager. And like I said, especially if the two clubs can agree with him, which I don't think will be a problem. Manchester City saying that they're disappointed, but that's what happens in football. You know, there was not going to be any other way for Arsenal to lead their business than to go to Arteta first and then to Man City. Arteta wants the job. He's obviously a former captain at the club. He spent 5 years there between 2011 and 2016, and despite his lack of experience at Arsenal, they believe he's the right man for the job.
We will talk a lot more about this potential appointment on Extra Time. Same crew on the next edition of FC, the four of us. Ali. We'll start.
One second. How can there be a wide variety?
There is a wide variety.
Well,
many different
what
topic
sport are
areas.
They about? What sport are they about?
Well, they're all about our sport.
Well, that's not a wide variety then, is it?
Oh, you want some curling questions in there?
I'll take any questions.
Well,
somebody complained about this the other day.
Take this on board if you're watching.
People think this is the real TV show.
Oh, really?
They haven't quite worked out Extra Time as it says, it's Extra Time.
So what was their complaint?
Well, they complained.
They
just complained in general. I just saw people complaining.
I can't believe people complain.
No, it's Extra Time. It's not meant to be the show. The show is the show. It's not difficult to work out unless you're not very bright.
The show is the show.
Well, this is not the show. This is the extra bit of the show. Hence the Extra Time. When you say "Welcome to Extra Time," that's the giveaway.
Right.
So this is not the show.
It's not the show.
No, the show is the show.
People said, "Oh, I'm not watching that show again." This isn't the show. It's not difficult unless you're not very bright.
Right.
And we're not very bright, and even we get it. Right,
Well,
I'm not answering any questions.
Well, now we've clarified that.
Well, I do like to clarify that, because some
show.
people find it difficult to understand. Never watching that again, they said.
This may be difficult for you to answer. Which current player asks, well, I'm not even going to pronounce his name, which current player would the panel compare themselves to at the moment?
Messi.
Sorry, I couldn't pronounce your name.
Messi. Marouane Fellaini.
I would be...
Is there a current goal poacher?
No, I would be an Olivier Giroud type.
Ooh, okay. Yeah?
Would you disagree?
Die.
Well,
He doesn't die.
If we can put that to the side, Stevie.
Well, that's a large part of your game, though.
Yeah, well,
We'll just put to the
and what a
side.
good part it was.
Oh, no, you were good at it. Oh, you were good
He
at it.
dined on it.
Aye.
So Giroud, any current players when you look at them and think, oh, he's a young creep.
Yeah, anybody playing in the midfield for Watford. I'll take that. Anybody who could get box to box and then they blew up before they were 30.